Hello all, welcome to Homeschool, and we are with the class 9 chapter, that is structure of an atom. See, in our previous chapter, atoms and molecules we studied. So we got to know basic idea about an atom and a very basic idea about a molecule, isn't it? We studied about the mass of an atom, right? And various laws, how chemical reaction takes place, isn't it? So after all those, we got to know that the word atom is very important in our chemistry, isn't it? See, various atoms which are present in different elements would always combine to give more and more chemical substances, isn't it? See, always there is an atom carbon may combine with the atoms of oxygen, you would get carbon dioxide. Like this, many atoms, different atoms would combine, you will get many new chemical substances which are helpful for the mankind, isn't it? So, what is there in atom to react with another atom? Yes, so atom is very special here. So let us try to recall the definition of atom here. What was the definition we studied for atom, guys? Atom is invisible. Yes or no? Can you see an atom? Definitely no. You can't see an atom with your naked eye. So I can write atom is invisible, indivisible. Yes or no? You can't divide the atom into further, right? And smallest, very small particle of matter, right, is called an atom, right? Many different atoms would combine to give molecule. Many molecules will join together in matter, isn't it? Say, I gave you enough examples in the last chapter. Say, if this is a chalk piece, is made up of calcium carbonate, right? And many calcium carbonate molecules would combine with each other. You know, they are present together to form this particular matter called chalk piece, right? And how was calcium carbonate formed? When calcium atom combined with carbon, and also when oxygen atom combined with this, you got that calcium carbonate, isn't it? So who is a combining particle here? Atom, isn't it? So we need to study more things about an atom. So this chapter is all about the structure of atom. Okay, so what is there in atom to make it so special? So how is this atom can combine with some other atom to give many different chemical substances? Isn't it? So all this you will understand. You will actually understand what is so special about the atom. Okay, once you know the structure of atom, you can easily tell like which atom can combine with which atom. So what is there in atom which is making it special, and why is the reason atom can combine with so many other atoms? You know, this is what the main idea you will get from a chapter. Okay, it's a very important and very fundamental chapter. So you should listen to a chapter with utmost concentration. Okay, and mainly whatever I write on a board, that's important to note it down. Okay, so that is what we call the reference notebook or running notebook, which is a very important to maintain that particular notebook. Okay, fine. And before we go to the chapter, let me show one experiment, interesting experiment. You know, this particular experiment you would have done right from your class 5 or 6. Yes or no? But still, I wanted to do once again here, and I wanted to tell you the reason behind this experiment. Okay, fine. See, I have little paper pieces, right? So paper pieces I took, and I have a comb. When I just keep the comb here, does any change happening between them, between the comb and paper pieces? No, right? Definitely there is no change. But now you see, I'll nicely rub the comb on my head. See, I'm rubbing it. It looks funny, but still, there is some chemistry involved in this. When you rub the comb on your head, I'll tell you what happens later. Okay? So nicely I'm rubbing it and I'm holding it. See what is happening? Paper pieces came and attracted. It is getting attracted to the comb, isn't it? Say once again, I'll show. But you need to rub very nicely, right? Rubbing is a chemical reaction actually. See, I'm holding it. See, the paper pieces got attracted to the comb, isn't it? So why will this happen? See, there are so many atoms would be there in this comb, right? This is a chemical. So many atoms would be there, and paper is also a chemical only. So many atoms would be there. So what is happening between these atoms, guys? See, paper got attracted to the comb, isn't it? So when is an attraction is possible between two substances, normally speaking? Did you get my question? When is an attraction possible? Okay, let me write the question on a board. When is an attraction possible between two substances? Between two substances. Okay, so what would be your answer? See, the moment I rubbed the comb onto my head, I held onto the paper pieces, it got attracted. So between the two substances, they created an attraction. So what is the reason behind this attraction? There would be so many atoms in a comb. There would be so many atoms in a paper. So what is happening between these atoms? They are getting attracted. So what is the main reason behind this? Listen carefully, guys. Two substances gets attracted when they have charges. Okay, got to know? So what I write here is two substances, any two substances, like mainly two substances gets attracted when they have charges. When they have charges. Okay, one should have a positive charge, one should have a negative charge. Yes, the substance with the positive charge held near to the substance with negative charge, you find attraction. You find attraction, right? Say something like this is happened between comb and paper pieces actually. Okay, say among the comb and paper pieces, some guy has more positive charges and some guy has more negative charges. So between when you held the two charges together near to each other, there observed an attraction. Got to know? So the same thing happened between them. So with this, what you can conclude? Do the atoms have charges? Say, comb has many atoms, I told. This must have had more negative charges or positive charges. Paper pieces also has atoms. That means the atoms are charged. Do the atoms have charge? Let us try to discuss that only in this class. Okay, so atoms are charged sometimes. Okay, say comb got attracted to the paper pieces, in the sense comb must have some charges, either whether it may be positive charge or negative charge, and paper pieces also must have some charges, either positive or negative. That's the reason when you held together, you are finding that attraction. Okay, so there is something in an atom, right, which is creating a charge for an atom. That's the reason when atoms are held together, they are getting attracted, right? So what is there in an atom? What did Dalton told us in the last chapter? Dalton told atom is indivisible particle. You cannot divide the atom into smaller and smaller pieces. That is true. But atom has smaller and smaller particles within it. Okay, so those particles are called subatomic particles. and these particles have charge. Okay, got to know? So what I wanted to tell you and what you have to note it down is atoms do contain, they have small particles which are charged, okay, and these particles are called subatomic particles. Okay, so we have certain charged particles in the atom can be of anything. Okay, say for example, if you take a sodium paste, you will have so many sodium atoms. If you take iron paste, you will have so many iron atoms. So whatever may be the type of an atom, whether it may be a sodium atom or an iron atom, okay, so inside an atom there are certain charged particles, smaller and smaller particles which have a charge. Either they have a positive charge and some particle have a negative charge. You know, there are charges within the atom. Okay, so that's the reason actually when two atoms, when any one of the atoms activated, like I rub the comb onto my head, that means actually I am activating the atoms there, right? So to increase the charges. So when you activate the atoms, you know, there can create an attraction between the two substances, right? So what is the reason between the attraction of two substances? Because they have charges. Okay, so whatever atom you take, you know, within them you have a charged particles. Okay, so these charged particles are called subatomic particles. Okay, so now let us learn what are those subatomic particles which are present in the atom. You know, there are 3 subatomic particles inside the atom. Atom can be of any type. It may be of sodium atom, it may be of calcium atom, it may be of carbon atom, whatever elements atom may be. Okay, so every atom has how many subatomic particles? 3 subatomic particles. Okay, so there are 3 subatomic particles. Okay, so what are they? First one, electrons. Okay, second one, protons. And third one is neutrons. Okay, so these are the 3 subatomic particles which are present inside the atom. Okay, and now let us talk about these particles separately, right? So let us make 3 columns actually. Say make 3 columns. First column includes electrons. Let us talk everything about electrons. Okay, later protons, and finally neutrons. Okay, fine. So who discovered these electrons, protons and neutrons? You know, different scientists individually they have discovered electrons, protons and neutrons. Say a person called J.J. Thomson. J.J. Thomson discovered electrons. Okay, J.J. Thomson discovered electrons, and Goldstein discovered protons. Okay, and Chadwick, there's a person called Chadwick, discovered neutrons. Okay, so these are the different scientists discovered electrons, protons and neutrons. Okay, and now very important point that you have to remember is electrons are negatively charged particles. See, I told you these subatomic particles will have charge, I told, isn't it? So actually electrons have negatively charged. They have a negative charge. That is the particle's property actually. Okay, so what I would like to write is electrons are negatively charged. Negatively charged. Okay, and these electrons are represented as E minus. E means electron, minus means like you are telling to a people that it is carrying a negative charge. Okay, so it is a negatively charged guy, right? Fine. And coming to the protons case, protons are positively charged. Protons are positively charged. Okay, so these words are very important, guys. And protons are represented. Protons are represented as P plus. Okay, so P means proton, plus in the sense you are telling to a people that it is carrying a positive charge. Okay, fine. And coming to the neutrons. Neutrons do not contain any charge. You know, neutrons are neutral. Neutrons are neutral. Okay, fine. And you know, the mass of an electron is very small. Okay, so mass of an atom itself is small, guys. Imagine inside the atom these particles are there. So how much would be the mass of these particles? Very small, isn't it? So compared to electrons, protons and neutrons, electrons have very less mass. Okay, so what I would write is mass is very small. You know how much is its mass? It is 9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 31 kg. See, 9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 31 kg in the sense what, guys? 0 point. Like if you put 30 zeros, after 30 zeros, 1 will come. Imagine how small number it is. 0.000, how many 30s? See how many zeros? 30 zeros. After that, 1 will come. So that much small number. To write a number, it's very big, but actually speaking, the number is so small. It's a decimal number. 0 point, so many zeros in the sense what? Very small, isn't it? So this is actually the mass of an electron. See how much small? And you know the mass of proton. Mass of proton is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 27 kgs. Okay, say mass of a proton is this much. And mass of neutron is also same value. Mass of neutron is also 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 27 kg. Okay, so both have same mass. Proton as well as neutron have same mass. Okay, and now just compare the number. Electron mass and proton mass you compare. Who is more smaller? It's like which number is more smaller and which subatomic particle has very less mass among electron and proton? Which is smaller number, guys? This is 10 to the power of minus 31. This is 10 to the power of minus 27. This is much smaller, no? Number wise, if you see, this is the smallest number. Okay, so that means the electron mass is very less compared to the mass of a proton. Okay, clear? Actually, what I can say is mass of proton is 2000 times higher than mass of electron. Okay, so how many times proton's mass is higher than electron's mass? It is 2000 times higher than the mass of an electron. Okay, so mass of a proton is this much times higher, okay, than the mass of an electron. Clear, everybody? So this is the main points that you have to remember in case of electrons, protons and neutrons. And one more point is electrons are also called as cathode rays. Okay, they are called as cathode rays. Actually, why we call them as cathode rays is like this name is based on the way scientists has discovered the electrons. Okay, actually those experiments and all you will learn it in higher classes. In class 11 you will find how this J.J. Thomson discovered electron with the help of an experiment. Okay, he conducted a discharge tube experiment. Okay, so based on the experimental studies, you know, he did not call this guy as electron. He first called it as cathode rays. Okay, so based on his experiment, he gave a name for the electron, that is cathode rays. Okay, so after that, the cathode rays, the name has been changed to electrons. Okay, so J.J. Thomson did not give a name electron for these negatively charged guys. He called it as cathode rays based on his experiment. Okay, fine. And similarly, protons also, they were also called as canal rays. Very important. Okay, canal rays. The same thing. Actually, the Goldstein also discovered the proton based on discharge tube experiment. There is an experiment called discharge tube experiment, okay, which you will learn it in higher studies. And based on his experiment, he has seen some rays coming out from certain gases, and those rays are actually contain these protons. And he did not give the name protons. He initially called those particles as canal rays. Okay, so later some other people gave the name for this canal rays as protons. Okay, so like that, protons can also be initially in the starting days when they were discovered, their name was canal rays only. So why did they call canal rays? It is because of the experiment they have conducted. Okay, so based on the experiment, some name they have to give, no? So they gave it as canal rays. Clear? Fine. So this is the basic idea one should have about subatomic particles. Okay, say now atom has these subatomic particles, no doubt. Okay, but you know, atom has equal number of negative and positive charges actually. Here everybody, say if you take an hydrogen atom, just one example I'm showing you. Okay, so this hydrogen atom, whatever is there, no, this actually has one proton and one electron. Don't worry about neutron. Okay, so we will discuss about them later. Just let us, because they don't have any charge, that's why I'm not worrying about a neutron. Okay, so electrons have negative charge, protons have positive charge. This is what very important to understand. Okay, say I took a hydrogen atom. Hydrogen atom actually has one proton and one electron. So what will be the charge of this atom? See, it has one positive charge, it has one negative charge, isn't it? So the atom's charge is always neutral, guys. Okay, charge of an atom, usually charge of an atom is neutral. Because why? Because atom always have equal number of electrons and protons. If an atom has 2 protons, it will have 2 electrons. If an atom has 10 protons, it will have 10 electrons. If an atom has 20 protons, it will have 20 electrons. If an atom has 100 protons, it will have 100 electrons. Okay, so number of positive charges and negative charges are equal. That is the reason atom as a whole is always neutral. Okay, so try to note it down, this point. Take it under note. Write it as a note and write down this point, guys. charge of an atom is neutral because the number of protons is always equal to number of electrons, is always equal to the number of electrons. Okay, so that is why atom is always neutral. So now when does an atom gets a charge? Like, say for example, the atoms of a comb got attracted to the atoms of a paper. See, if the atom in a comb is neutral, if an atom on a paper is neutral, then do you find any attraction between them? No, right? No. See, there are so many atoms in a comb. I am telling atoms are always neutral because number of positive charges will be equal to the number of negative charges. Okay. Then atoms present on this comb are neutral. Atoms present on this paper is neutral. When in that case there won't be any attraction. Okay. But see, when I simply held the paper piece to the comb, there is no attraction because atoms present on the comb and the atoms present on a paper are actually neutral. Okay, they have equal number of protons and electrons. But when I rub the comb onto my head, what actually happened is some of the electrons or some of the protons present in the atoms would go away. See, this is the reason why I am rubbing on my head. See, I rubbed the comb very nicely on my head, isn't it? So what would have happened here? Some of the electrons that were present in the small atoms, no, they will vanish on rubbing. So you would be having, say for example, this is the atom of a comb. This is the atom of a paper. Okay, say imagine in the comb atom you have 20 electrons and 20 protons. In the paper atom you have 18 electrons and 18 protons. Okay, say initially they were neutral because negative charges were equal to the positive charges. Here also negative charges were equal to the positive charges, neutral. Okay, but when this comb, when I rubbed it on my head, imagine some of an electrons lost on my head. Okay, they shifted from comb atoms to my head. Okay, so now what has happened here? Now what has happened? The comb atom had only 8 electrons or 20 protons. This is just an assumption. Okay, see, among the 20, some of the electrons have gone on rubbing. Okay, and now you see positive charges are more, isn't it? Now this atom is charged, guys. Now this atom is charged because positive charges are not equal to the negative charges here. Less number of negative charges, more number of positive charges. So atom will acquire positive charge. Okay, whichever charges are more, no, that charge the atom acquires. Okay, so now the atom is charged. Once this is charged, then this can get attracted towards this. Okay, so at least only when at least one of the atom is charged, then only this guy can get attracted to this guy. So whenever I rub the comb onto my head, some of the electrons would have lost. Now the atom gets a positive charge because more protons are there, less electrons. So protons are positive charge, no? So positive charge it acquires. So now the whole atom is not neutral now. It is acquiring certain charge. Okay. So it gets attracted to the paper pieces. Right. So only when the atoms acquire certain charge, then only attraction is possible. Okay. So now you got to know why is the comb has to be rubbed on a head. Right? Only when I rub the comb on my head, I can disturb the neutrality. Okay? I can disturb either some of the electrons would come out or some of the protons would come out. Okay? After that, these guys would get some charge, either positive charge or negative charge. And now when you held to the paper, since this guy has a charge, it gets attracted to these atoms. Because in these atoms also you have certain positive guys and negative guys, no? So if this is a positive guy, if this is acquiring a positive charge, it will get attracted to the negative guys of this atom. Okay, so this much chemistry is involved when you held comb to the paper pieces. The experiment looks very simple, isn't it? But see how various things have been included, right? So this is all about the subatomic particles, guys. Okay, remember their names and remember these points and also the logic behind the experiment. Okay, and this point is very important. Charge of an atom is neutral because number of protons are equal to the number of electrons. Okay, so only if this equality is not there, like if number of protons is not equal to the number of electrons, then atoms will acquire charge. Okay, when they acquire charge, they can get attracted to some other atoms. Yeah, so this is all about subatomic particles. Okay, so now in the next class, what we are going to study is atomic models. Like now we got to know there are subatomic particles inside the atom, but where they are present, how they are arranged. Say when you have 20 electrons and 20 protons in one particular atom, how are these 20 electrons arranged? Where are these 20 protons present? And where are the neutrons present? Okay, so for this, different scientists have given different theories. Different scientists explained in a different way how electrons are arranged and how protons and neutrons are arranged inside the atom. Okay, so those theories we are going to study. Till then, keep revising the concept. Okay, and writing a reference notebook, like noting down whatever points I have written on a board is very important, guys. So please do that work. So with this, I will end my session. Meet up in the next class. Thank you.